You know, these are the people who could have really hidden, they could have ran away, but they chose to act in the midst of that bloodbath. They did show us what true courage and compassion looks like. Humanity will always stand tall. That is what defines us. Now to take you through heartbreaking visuals that's come in from across the country after 3 days have passed of that Pahalgam terror attack. Across the country, families at this point receiving mortal remains of their loved ones. You know, our feed is entirely at this point flooded with heartbreaking visuals of coffins draped in silence, tearful goodbyes, wives clinging on to photographs, children lighting pyres. We're really pained to bring you this footage here, but it must be shown because we need to remember every face that will not return home needs to be remembered. The final journey, let me start with, of Shivamogga entrepreneur Manjunath Rao, the one that really fills our heart with tears. In fact, Union Minister Prahlad Joshi was also present there, standing with the grieving family, offering condolences, joining hands in sorrow. We saw at the cremation ground his wife Pallavi, who could not hold back. She says, "It should be a bad dream. I want to wake up from this bad dream. This should not happen to anyone's family. They were targeting only men." She says this and she just sobs. And here in Mysuru, Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has paid his last respects, in fact, to Bharat Bhushan. If I could take you through, that's images there coming in from Karnataka, where Bharat Bhushan, a techie in Karnataka, also was shot dead. In fact, Siddaramaiah has also spoken briefly. Let's hear it.
And he has achieved many goals in his life. And his Mrs. She has done her MD in general medicine. She has served a lot in COVID. 24 hours she has worked for the nation. And for 14 years she has served in MS Ramaiah institution. And for having served so much to the country, is this the way our the country should go back to him, his family? I don't think this is right. Whosoever has done this shouldn't repeat. And add to that, this is not the way. Let it be any religion, caste, anything. We are not, India is a peaceful country. We have to be peaceful. And this should not repeat.
In fact, that was Siddharaman, who is the uncle of Bharat Bhushan. Very, very tragic to hear accounts. I'm going to take you through now of Madhusudan, 32-year-old Madhusudan, who is an IT professional from Nellore, Andhra Pradesh. He landed in Bengaluru for work. He moved to the city to build a better life and a future. He went on a holiday with his wife and son. And here you see visuals here where he returns in a casket. From there, he was driven to Nellore. In fact, the mortal remains was taken back. Well, definitely not the journey back home that the family has imagined.
I miss you.
Sir, side.
You through the cremation of two best friends in Pune. There you have it. Two best friends who decided to go for a holiday to Kashmir's Pahalgam. Now, hundreds gathered at Vaikunth Crematorium to bid farewell to these two friends, very close, Santosh Jagdale and Kaustubh Gandbode. They had travelled to the valley together and they've returned in silence. Who went together, and one should remember that Pahalgam is an area that has a high tourist footfall. We hear that the security forces were not adequately deployed because it did not have that kind of threat perception. And on that day of the attack, there were nearly 1,000 tourists along the meadows there. So, two best friends who managed to travel, unfortunately, tragic end. Now, in Kanpur, tragedy has struck a married couple, a newly married couple, Shubham Dwivedi. Shubham was shot in the head in front of his wife. In fact, UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has also met with his family. His wife shared the pain, the horror of witnessing her husband die right before her eyes. That's Yogi Adityanath, who's paying his respects there as the mortal remains arrives in Kanpur.
मैं और शुभम बैठ के मैगी खाने जा रहे थे। शामली मेरी बहन थोड़ा दूर बैठी थी और पापा मेरे वॉशरूम में थे। उतनी देर में एक बंदा पीछे से आया और उसने गोली साइड में रख के उससे पूछा हिंदू है कि मुसलमान है। मुसलमान है तो पहले कलमा पढ़ के दिखा। जैसे हमें पता ही नहीं, हम पीछे पलट के देखे हो क्या रहा है। हम उसकी तरफ स्माइल करके पूछे भैया क्या हुआ, यार हिंदू है मुसलमान। मैंने कहा हिंदू, मार दिया। पहली गन उसी पे चलाई। हिंदू मुसलमान बने हुए बंदी को मार।
And then you have in West Bengal, BJP President Sukamta Majumdar, who attended the funeral of Manish Ranjan. Well, if you could take you through images of Manish, that's in fact Manish Ranjan in Hyderabad. Apologies for that. In fact, the techie in Hyderabad, Manish Ranjan, who had gone for a vacation with his wife and children, tourists there opened fire on his family. In fact, Manish Ranjan was the one who died. His wife and his kids saw him collapse right before them. And then in Indore, where we saw the entire city there weeping for Sushil Nathaniel, a branch manager with LIC. He had traveled to Kashmir with his family for a break, but the serenity of Baisaran was shattered. Sushil was hit in the head, rushed to a hospital in Srinagar, but he could not make it. Well, these are the sorry stories that's coming in from Kashmir and across the country. In fact, these are images that we showed you of funerals, of coffins that are arriving at the hometowns of people who died in this dastardly attack. Fear, of course, at this point grips Kashmir as well. After that bloodshed and the heartbreak, now we see that valley entirely silent. Thousands of tourists are cutting short their trip from Kashmir. Long queues are piling up at the Srinagar airport. More than 2 lakh bookings have been cancelled across Kashmir region. In fact, for a region that really survived on tourism, these attacks didn't just take lives, it's also shattered the livelihood of Kashmiri locals and stole something that's very, very precious, and that's trust. Remember, we are wounded, but we aren't broken. It's definitely our turn now to fight back, to take revenge, not with hate, of course, but with resolve. We make sure this never happens again.